So today I just want us to talk about biologists and explorers and how these two entities relate. So first of all, I'd like to define terms. So who's a biologist? A biologist is a person who experiments living things to find out more about living things. So a biologist is a person who studies these living forms and tries to understand more about life in different living forms. So he or she might experiment or dissect a frog. He or she might dissect a living form or a carcass to try to understand life, how life functions, how life expresses itself in even in deeper internal structures. So a biologist is almost the same as an explorer, because the explorers are people who go to distant places or explore different lands and identify different locations and diverse locations around the world. So what unites these two, or almost the same, is that they all are explorers. One is an explorer of the human anatomy or the anatomy of living forms, while the other is a student of geographical locations, is a student of different places, is a student of exploring the world and coming into contact with new lands, new geographical locations, new places to take advantage of. So the explorers are individuals who are informed by the things that they discover in their explorations, while biologists are also individuals who are informed by their explorations. So the things that a biologist will discover will inform the medicine he or she will make. In the same way, the lands an explorer will discover as fertile and as usable and being possessed by nobody, he or she might take advantage of that place. So an explorer explores for exploitation, for taking advantage of what he finds in his exploration quest, while a biologist explores the human body, the human anatomy, the human structure, the human internal structure, and from the discovery he or she makes medicines, finds ways of curing the body when it's ill. So an explorer and a biologist are almost the same in the sense that they are all explorers. They are all people who are curious, who are driven by curiosity of trying to understand. So biologists and explorers are almost the same. But the thing that the biologists do not utilize is the realization that in all biological living forms, there is oneness of functioning, there is oneness of vibrancy. So when the biologists do not discover this while they are doing all the experiments, then they kind of act from a perspective of division rather than a perspective of them originating from that which facilitates that frog that they are dissecting. So instead of identifying with life or with the life that they explore, that instead of identifying with that which is life that they noticed in every living form they dissected, instead of identifying with that life, they identify with the individual form, and so they remain distant from understanding the oneness of all these diverse living forms they experiment. So the highest achievement of biology is discovering that in all these diverse living forms that one does experiments to, that one experiments with, there is life. True biology will lead one to a state of understanding that which is same, that process that is shared by people from different religions. Through biology, one can understand an order that is higher and that facilitates our individual living forms, despite of the religions, the cultures, the norms, and the traditional ways that we've practiced or that we've identified with. So, to identify with this, a biologist will utilize his or her knowledge to know that which is whole, to know that which is complete or entire and seen in all things that he or she might consider to be subjects of experiment. So in everything that a biologist experiments is possessing life. In everything that a biologist experiments, there is that which he or she identifies as life in it or in that living form. So that is one that is shared by all living forms that are in this planet. So a biologist should be the first person to attest that all living forms emanate from a oneness of life, from a one life force or vitality that gives life and essence of all living forms. So when one is a true biologist, then one, just as a wise explorer, will utilize the discovered lands or the discovered things to inform his or her future actions. So when one as a biologist discovers that his work is to study all things that share life, when one as a biologist discovers that in everything that he or she dissects, there is life in it. It might be in worms, it might be in microorganisms, it might be in form of amoeba, it might be in form of snails, it might be in form of all these things that we experiment with, or the things that we see in our surroundings. When we are identified with the discovery that the biologists have already discovered that in all these living forms, there is this life process that is worth experimentation through the biologists. So as a biologist, one's core goal is experimenting, is exploring the structure and the nature of these diverse living forms that fill this planet. So in this experimentation, one must be able to discern that which is living or not living. So if a biologist will identify with that which makes him or her call a snake as living, a frog as living, a lion as living, a tree as living, his own life as living or as life, living form, when a biologist identifies with that which is life in all these diverse living forms that he or she endeavors to experiment, then he or she will act from a holistic state of being, from a holistic self, from a higher self that includes all things that live. From that life-giving force, one will act from that life-giving force that is seen in all these things that have biological processes in them. So our true biologist, just as a wise explorer utilizes his discoveries for wiser decisions, in the same way, a true biologist will use his or her discoveries to identify with a oneness of life that he or she endeavors to experiment through diverse living forms. So identified with this, then a biologist can become a teacher of compassion. A biologist can become a master of right livity. A biologist can become a master of the ways of life, of the ways of that which is noticeable in anything that you might refer as life. So a true biologist will pinpoint or really focus and understand what is this that is life in all these things that I experiment. What is this that is life in insects, in microorganisms, in worms, in flies, in trees, in grass, in human beings, in people from different geographical locations. So a true biologist will find what is life. What does the term life point to? What does that term life that we give to lions, living gazelles, living elephants, living eagles, living trees, living penguins? When a biologist truly sees what is this that is referred as life in all these diverse living forms, then he or she can become a master, a teacher of that which remains constant despite of the living forms differences. So when a biologist truly sees that which is referred as life in everything that he or she has ever experimented or seen under a microscope, when he or she sees what is that is life in all these diverse living forms, living human beings with their different and differing practices and cultures and traditional norms and practices. So when a biologist sees what is this that is shared by people from different religions, from different cultures, from different societies, from different geographical location, from different races, when a biologist sees in truth or with utter clarity what is this that is life in all things that might be considered to possess life, then a biologist will come to a state of understanding that which unites all these living forms, that uniting factor that enables or animates or gives life or expresses itself through all these diverse living forms. So a biologist has the best chance of understanding a oneness of being. A biologist is very close to understanding that uniting factor or that uniting force that gives life to all these diverse living forms that fill our environments, that fill our blood system, that fill our digestive system. So in all these living forms, macro or microorganisms, in all these, there's life in them. So a true biologist will try to see what is life, what is that which is referred to as life in a cow, in a cat, in a gazelle, in a lion, in a wolf, in a goat, in all these diverse living forms. What is that is life in a Muslim, in a Christian, in a Kenyan, in an Indian, in an American, in a German? What is this that is life in a Chinese, in a Russian, in an Israelite, and in a Palestine? What is this that is life and remains the same despite of the living forms that manifest it? So when one understands this in the truest sense or with utter clarity, then one's actions are informed by a oneness of being by a oneness that is whole, that includes all diverse living forms, yet maintaining and retaining its essence, its core. So that is the journey of discovering oneness. So just as an explorer discovers new lands and new places and new adventures, in the same way, a biologist will discover a oneness of being that is shared by people from all races, from all nations, from all cultures, from all traditions. So in the same way, an explorer discovers new lands. In the same way, a biologist can discover a oneness state of being, a oneness state of functioning, a oneness order, an order that facilitates all living forms through their diverse anatomy, through their differing anatomy. So until next time, just explore this and share with any biologist that you know. Any person who tries to understand life, make sure he or she finds this video or sees this video.